Well, let's continue the conversation and bring in right now the Ontario Green Party leader, Mike Schreiner. Mr. Schreiner, nice to see you again. Congratulations on your win last night.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And it was a big win in Guelph and in Kitchener Centre for Ashland Clancy. And I think what it tells us is that when people elect Green MPPs, they like their Green MPPs because they work hard for them. But we were, I'll have to admit, disappointed that we almost got across the finish line in Parry Sound Muskoka, but just didn't quite get there for the second time in a row.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that because, you know, you essentially were hoping to build your caucus last night. It did not happen, although Parry Sound Muskoka, your candidate, did come in second place. And yet you still say your party made history. How is that possible?
Well, you know, we have doubled our caucus since the last election. Ashland Clancy won in a by-election, and there were a number of pundits suggesting that she couldn't pull that off in a general election, and she won in a landslide for the second time now. And so I would say what it tells us is when you elect a Green MPP, people like that MPP because they work hard for them. They put people before politics. Unfortunately, we need to expand to have more ridings with Green MPPs, and that almost happened for Matt Richter in Parry Sound Muskoka. He almost won in the last election, came incredibly close again this time, but unfortunately, we just weren't quite able to get him past the finish line.
Okay, well, let's build on that because, you know, in your speech last night, you were saying that Ontario seems to be in constant crisis these days, be it housing, education, healthcare, or tariffs that are coming around the corner. But voters did give the PCs a third majority mandate, and that's even with the Greenbelt scandal. So are your priorities just not the priorities of your province?
You know, I think part of the challenge we've faced in Ontario is Mr. Ford has been very effective at blaming a lot of things on the federal government and Prime Minister Trudeau. The housing crisis, but that's provincial jurisdiction. Healthcare, oh, that's provincial jurisdiction as well. Affordability, well, a lot of the affordability measures we could take are provincial jurisdiction as well. And so without the Prime Minister Trudeau around moving forward, I think it's going to be more challenging for Mr. Ford to blame the province's challenges on the federal government, but I think he was effective in doing that over the last few years and through this election campaign.
Okay, so we'll have to see how those things work out now that, as you say, Prime Minister Trudeau, his time is coming to an end. But, you know, the biggest threat to your province and really to the country right now looks to be coming March the 4th, the tariffs from the United States. How do you want the province to respond to what essentially is an existential threat to the Ontario economy?
Yeah, this is a huge threat to the Ontario economy, and I especially feel it here in Guelph. We're the fourth most tariff-exposed city in the entire country of Canada. So what I want the Premier Ford to do is work with the opposition leaders so we have a united front working across party, jurisdictional, and sectoral lines to show strength through unity to push back against Donald Trump. We need to make sure all measures are on the table and we hit back hard. And while we're doing that, we have to make sure that we protect Ontario workers, Ontario jobs, Ontario companies, to make sure the supports are in place for those workers and companies most affected by the tariffs. As we work to diversify our trade partners, as we work to remove interprovincial trade barriers, we also need to be bringing in a Buy Ontario strategy to support Ontario companies through government procurement and investing in local supply chains. I'd also call on the Premier to bring in an investment tax credit to unlock the business investment that's frozen right now. I've talked to so many business owners who aren't making investments with the threat of tariffs, let alone what's going to happen when those tariffs, if they do come in. And so we need to make sure that companies are continuing to invest so we create jobs, support workers. And the final thing I would say is, let's go out there and let's support local food and farmers and local businesses. Let's protect the farmland that contributes to our $50 billion food and farming economy, our food security, food sovereignty. We have to protect those small businesses who, while may not be directly exposed in many cases to Trump, tariff threats, the ripple effect in the economy will affect them. That's why I've been calling on lowering payroll taxes by raising the employer health tax exemption for small businesses so they can hire more workers and pay them a higher wage.
So you have your own plan, but we've heard the Premier, and he wants to develop critical minerals quicker. There's also talk about reviving Energy East, which would essentially have a pipeline run through Ontario. Will you oppose? Will you support those initiatives?
Well, I certainly support ramping up Ontario's ability to supply critical minerals. We know that's going to be vitally important to Ontario succeeding in the green energy transition that is attracting trillions of dollars in business investment, especially in the renewable energy sector and in the EV supply chain. Most of the industry experts I've talked to about building pipelines are saying that by the time those pipelines get built, the demand simply won't be there anymore because of the emerging green economy, which our critical minerals are going to play a vital role in. So I would say for Ontario, let's definitely develop our critical minerals sector. Let's make Ontario a global destination for investment in the green energy transition, because that's where most of the investment and job growth is.
Mike Schreiner, thank you for this. Appreciate the time, and congratulations again on your win last night.
Thank you. Appreciate it.